What's going on, YouTube? Some of you may be here, some of you may not be here. This is the second attempt of this Rembrandt pastel. So what happened was my internet completely shut off. So that was unfortunate, but if this ever happens to you, first thing you want to do is check your router and restart the router, which is what I did. I pressed a little button that you press to restart the router, and then I went on my computer and then I ran a diagnostics, and lo and behold, the router disconnected. It was just disconnected. So I hopefully reconnected it. If you're watching this live, let me know. I won't start painting until somebody says something. If you can hear me or not, I don't know. And I think the last stream is still available. I think. I don't really know. But yeah, I restarted my router. Hey mate. Oh good, you're here. Yay. Someone's here. That means I can paint again. I really wanted to continue this painting. That was a unfortunate circumstance, but anyway, if this ever happens to anybody, don't give up. Don't get angry and frustrated. Take a deep breath, take a step back, and restart your router. If this happens to me again, I'm prepared to handle it. And I really appreciate all of you that stayed here and also messaged me on Facebook. Thank you, Grace Murphy. Special shout out to you, Grace Murphy. Thank you. And Jeanette. Thank you for messaging me. Hey, Mohammed, Melody, I'm glad that you can hear me. Yeah, the router cut off, but let's go ahead and continue this. My momentum is a little shot, but we are going to pick up where we left off. I didn't work on this, I don't think, that much after I noticed the internet cut off the first time. Then it connected again, and then it cut off again, and then yeah. But we're here. So what I'm doing is I'm layering kind of like a reddish gray tone for the forehead. Yeah, definitely. Those of you that are here, please write a comment, say hello, tell me where you're watching from, tell us, how your day is going. Any kind of comments will help to bring people back to the stream. This new one. The old one's still there. I didn't delete it. I probably should, but no, I won't delete the old one. Oh, thanks, Han Nugent. Thank you. Yeah, just a simple hello. Anything, any kind of comment that you write will help bring people to the stream. Especially after that loss of my internet there. Mind you, I'm not very technically savvy, so it's a lot of work for me. Hey Mohammed, thanks for watching from North Africa. Hey Jonas. Welcome. Thank you. Layering this dark reddish color. And of course, we can start to guesstimate where the eyes are going to fit. Hey Sue Yang. Thanks for watching from Orange County, California. Melody, North Idaho. They may. Yep, the previous one right before the internet cut off does show how to get to this point. Thanks for watching from Scotland. Thank you, thank you. Thanks for all the comments, everybody. That's going to help bring people to the stream. Because if there's one thing YouTube does not like, it's inconsistency. I'm trying to be as consistent as I can. Yellow ochre is probably the most important color for my pastels in regards to portraiture. And it is the color that I accidentally dropped last week. As you can see, a piece of the old one. And I don't often say this, but I'm gonna say it today. Please, if you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, this would be a really important kind of reason to be subscribed to the channel, because you get a notification when I go live. So for example, anyone that was there during the live stream just like an hour ago that cut off due to internet failure, you would have been informed if you were subscribed with notifications. Jeanette, these are individuals. Mohammed, yeah, good art documentary. There, I know it's overrated, but I really like the Simon Schama Power of Art. He has a really good one on Caravaggio as well as Rembrandt. He's not that accurate, I think, when it comes to painting and how people learn painting, but he's pretty entertaining, and I think, you know, I don't think I can tell from his narration that he's a very passionate person about art history and history in general. Simon Schama, Power of Art. The one on Van Gogh is a masterpiece. The Power of Art, and it's a pretty old, like, I don't know, like 14 years now, and I still watch it once in a while to this day. Yeah, these pastels, and I know there's nothing in the description box this time because all I titled was Take Two. Pastel Take Two. So these are Rembrandt pastels. I have a red, and this red is just called permanent red. Yellow ochre, black, white, and this, for all intents and purposes, is a burnt sienna type color. In case anyone is new here, I typically will start and finish a painting in one live stream. This one has been split into two because I lost my internet connection. But I didn't give up. I restarted the router and we're back. Simon Chum is a historian rather than an art historian. Yeah, definitely. He's got a lot of other art history. A lot of other history documentaries that I should watch. I'm gonna watch. I will. Kind of a funny thing that I noticed, and I don't know if it has anything to do with my internet getting cut off, but I noticed there was a spider on my right next to the reset button on my router. Right before I pressed the reset button, I had to move the spider. It was just one of those like harmless house spiders. Oh, I don't know, but could spider webs really affect a router? It could just have been a coincidence, but there was a spider, and of course, I'm not scared of spiders. I love spiders. I used to keep pet tarantulas, so I'm not afraid of them as long as you know which ones are like as long as you can identify say a black widow or a brown recluse. You want to stay away from those spiders, but the other ones, not that bad. I've been bitten by a tarantula before. I've been bitten by a wolf spider. The wolf spider was the most painful one, but it's really nothing to fear that much. I wonder if it has something to do with it. Spider said, "No, I'm gonna shut off your live stream." I had to move the spider with a paintbrush, and it's somewhere on the floor. I hope I don't step on the poor thing. But better not make your home on my router next time. I wrote many great art history programs on YouTube. Originally from BBC. I'm not sure how to pronounce that one, but that's something to look up there. Pretty cool. I really like the one on Sargent on BBC, but I don't know who. I forget who. But there's a nice one on Sargent. The one, the only, John Singer Sargent. We did a study of one of his paintings last week. And not that I'm sponsored by anyone, but kudos to the Verizon app, because that's what I used to run diagnostics on my internet loss there. And it actually worked. I already knew how to reset the router, but it didn't work the first time I reset it. The second time I used the Verizon app. Obviously, I'm not paid to tell you this. But as you can tell, internet is a very important thing for a painter on the internet. And yeah, what I'll probably do, to be honest, is I'll probably download the footage from the first attempt and combine it with this one and just delete both of the streams and upload all of the footage into one. Maybe I won't delete them though. Just keep the streams, but upload like a full version of it. So the last thing I want is for you to have a bad experience viewing the streams. So yeah, I won't delete them. I'll just create another one that has both of the files. Hey Jeanette, the paper that I use is Canson pastel paper. Canson Metians, not that I know how to pronounce that, but Canson Metians pastel paper felt gray. This is the felt gray color. Canson Metians felt gray paper with Rembrandt brand soft pastels is what we're using for this Rembrandt master study. Now obviously we're not going to take a break after the first hour because I had to reconnect my router. Kind of somewhat close to what the first break would have been. The color palette is similar to the Zorn palette in that I have just black and white, yellow ochre, and a red. The felt gray is my favorite color for skin tones. Therefore, it's my favorite color for portraiture. My next break will be more enjoyable for yeah, much more enjoyable than my internet having to reconnect my router. Well, we don't give up. Never give up, never surrender. Now we're starting to add the subtleties. There's something so nice about building planes with pastel. It's so, I don't know, it's like got like a earthy kind of feeling. kind of like walking on the grass with your bare feet. Something so like natural about it. Oh, Zorn. I said, yeah, Zorn palette. So the Zorn palette is an oil painting palette traditionally, but nowadays, of course, you can use Zorn for anything. Zorn, Zorn, attributed to, but not invented by, Anders Zorn, who was a painter around Sargent's time. Mr. Sargent. John Singer Sargent, who is probably the most famous portrait painter in history, at least today. And of course, that can change anytime. For the longest time, Rembrandt was the most famous. I mean, I still, of course, will favor Rembrandt over almost anyone, except for Nelson Shanks. That's a close call. But what it is the Zorn, Z-O-R-N, Zorn palette is a limited skin tone palette that traditionally, in oil paint, consisted of lead white, vermilion, yellow ochre, and carbon bone black, or just carbon black. That is the traditional Zorn palette, and I think you can still buy those colors on Natural Pigment site. Vermilion is a red that was used before cadmiums were invented, and is a very toxic material. It is composed, the pigment itself is composed of mercury, and of course lead white is made of lead. So the Zorn palette, the original Zorn palette, had mercury and lead in its composition. So although you can buy it today and you can use it without really any harm, as long as you don't accidentally ingest it, today when we refer to Zorn, it's typically consisting of oil painting colors that are as simple as titanium white, or again lead white, which is still used today. I still have it. Cadmium red, which is typically cadmium red light, and of course yellow ochre and ivory black. That's the more modern version of the Zorn palette, still with a little bit of toxicity in the cadmium. Now we are even further into the future now. We're way into the future now, and we have synthetic materials. We don't need cadmium anymore. We have quinacridone colors. We have synthetic colors. So we can achieve that bright red, like what you see right there. We can achieve this bright red without having to introduce cadmium into the equation. So, bringing you to where we are now with this Zorn palette style pastel setup, we have the same concepts here. We have white, yellow ochre, red, and black. Of course, I have a brown also, so it's the Zorn palette plus kind of like a burnt sienna brown. And the Zorn limited palette consists of basically 3 colors. You can think of red, yellow, blue. The black will function as a blue. Yellow ochre functions as a yellow, but it's also a yellow that is handy in most skin tones, pretty much all of them. And red, of course, is just your standard red. And 3 colors, you can do a lot with just 3 colors. It's what all palettes are built off of, is 3 colors. Red, yellow, blue. And then variations of each. A lot of emphasis on the main triangle, meaning the eyes, the nose, and the mouth. Connect them and you get the triangle. With a lot of really fun planes. Seems like the internet is working now, so that's a good thing. Oh, right, yellow, yes, yellow ochre and black makes a green. Just like black and white makes a pink, and yellow, ochre, and red makes an orange. Then yellow, ochre, red, and black makes a brown. Black and white makes a gray. So red and yellow make an orange combined with a gray makes a skin color. It may seem complicated at first, but it becomes more intuitive as you progress. Same thing is going on here. In order to achieve a greenish tone, I'm using yellow ochre and black. White and red make my pink. My orange was the yellow ochre and the red. Welcome back, Giselle. Seems like the stream is working again. Hey Jeanette, how long have you been doing this? Yeah, my training, I was taught by an artist named Paulden Hamilton in Baltimore. And I still have many art friends and teachers in Baltimore, and I'll actually be there tomorrow. Unfortunately, I live over an hour away from there, but I'll make the trip to go paint with them. And I also took classes in Philadelphia, Studio Incaminati. I was there for an entire year. And that's where I met artists like John DeMartin, Dan Thompson, Stephen Early, Leona Shanks. Of course, in Maryland, I studied with John Ebersberger, who is a student of Henry Henchy, and Nelson Shanks also studied with Henry Henchy. And if the names don't ring a bell, don't worry about it. Basically, all of my teachers had connections to the teachers before them, and the teachers before them had connections all the way down towards the Impressionists, William Merritt Chase. So I've been lucky with my teachers. I've had really good teachers. How long? It's hard to tell. I was drawing since I was a child, middle school. But I started taking classes back in 2008, 2009. So about like 16 years or so. 15, 16 years experience. Mostly oil painting. I did do a lot of charcoal drawing and graphite drawing. Graphite is just a fancy way of saying pencil drawing. Pastel, I really just taught this to myself. But having had all the experience from oil painting, pastel became a lot easier to learn than had I not done all the oil painting. Hey Hansel Dog, oh thank you. It gets better the more experience you have, the more training you have with planes. I know I say planes a lot, that's why we're gonna have a shirt that says planes, 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 planes. But yeah, it does get easier the more experience you have with this. And add to the fact that I've done, I can't even count how many Rembrandt studies I've done, both in my own education and in how I educate my online students. But I am actively teaching myself new materials that are going to take a little bit longer to learn. But we will have even more live streams coming up in the future, in addition to the 3 a week you already have. That way, every time I lose internet in one of them, at least I had already done a couple other streams that week. Hey, George D'Angelo, welcome. So yeah, 15 or 16 years experience with oil painting and charcoal drawing. Made the transition into pastel kind of a natural transition. So we're working with mass. See this ear, I'm lowering it using mass. Mass is basically just a shape of value or a shape of color that you can push around. Think of it kind of like clay. That's all this is. These are broken pieces of pastel, same pastel I'm using. This is Rembrandt brand soft pastels. So in case anybody may be new, remember the schedule is Wednesdays oil painting, Thursdays acrylic, and Fridays pastel. 4:00 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And that is the same time for each of the streams. Free for everyone. You're always welcome to join. We can start to put a bit of the background tone. Daniel Vagla, welcome. Yeah, something did go wrong with the internet. Rembrandt versus Caravaggio versus... Oh, did it go wrong with the internet again? Hopefully not. It says my connection is working. Rembrandt versus Caravaggio versus Rubens. Who is the best? But the best in terms of what? You mean... the best in terms of color, the best in terms of form. I think what you're asking is who's all around the best, like a battle royale kind of thing. And I'd have to say the best all around, in my opinion, between Rubens. Is that what you said? Rubens, Caravaggio, Rembrandt. Best all around would, to me, be Rembrandt. And it really depends on who you're asking, but I would choose Rembrandt mainly because Rembrandt did those big narrative story paintings that Caravaggio did. He also did careful, drawing subjects like Rubens, but not to the extent that Rubens did. But Rembrandt could do pretty much all of that. Caravaggio, I don't think he was really the best portrait painter of his time, or even that era. I think Artemisia Gentileschi might have been better than him in portraiture. So Caravaggio is really, in my opinion, the best at those huge kind of, think about those huge biblical paintings that he did. Now, Rubens was excellent for his drawing, his linear drawing, his understanding of anatomy. His classical drawing is it's really in a league of its own. So you can't really knock him for that. But Rembrandt himself could do that as well, but not to the level that not to the level that Rubens could. Rembrandt, most importantly, I think, he paved the way for artists in the future to paint what they see, and more importantly, not focus on catering to the wealthy all the time. Now, he did cater to the rich in terms of his commissions, but he was, think about the Night Watch. If you don't know about the Night Watch, it was a big time in his career where he chose his own aesthetic, despite the fact that the people that commissioned him didn't want that aesthetic, and it cost him. Rubens, from my knowledge, basically, he was a society painter in a good way, in the sense that, like, it seems like he really did genuinely enjoy the super academic stuff, super academic finish. And I think Rembrandt was more partial towards thick paints, kind of like this kind of scratchy, loose kind of aesthetic. But a good question. I like the question. Yeah, Artemisia she's so underrated still. Artemisia Gentileschi. She was a Caravaggisti type painter, meaning she painted a lot like Caravaggio. She was I would say, like, kind of like one of his followers, but I think her ability to capture faces was a little more human than Caravaggio's. Caravaggio's faces are a little too mechanical for me. Even though we did one yesterday, and I chose the one that was the least mechanical, in my opinion. He wrote the reference look like he has a headband. His hair is flopping above it. That's funny. Oh, I can see the headband. Yeah, I could. Yeah, that's what his hat kind of looks like. I can see that. Yeah, I really appreciate everyone that's here, that joined after our internet mishap. I appreciate all of you watching this after the fact as a pre-recorded video. So again, please feel free to ask any painting related questions or anything YouTube friendly, as it will help the stream. I don't mind answering any questions as I'm painting. For layering the colors for the hat. Well, now that I have the broken yellow ochre, I can use it for things like this. artist hat. Of course, it wouldn't be Rembrandt without a Rembrandt hat. Jeanette, do you find it more difficult to paint from life? Any books you can recommend for planes? Well, painting from life for me is more natural because that's how I was trained. But in terms of books, I would, especially for like academic drawing and stuff, and you mentioned specifically for planes, but a good all around would be from my teacher John DeMartin, his book. Totally forgot what he titled it, but if you type John DeMartin, another one is Vanderpool. It's an older one, of course, the Vanderpool. But let's see, I'll type John's name. Yeah, John DeMartin's book. Of course, I was fortunate and I got to study with him in person, but a lot of my knowledge when it comes to planes and even terms like the Terminator line, the dark light, things like that are pretty much all from John DeMartin. But yeah, working from life is the best, I think. That's really, if you have access to a group where you can go and paint from life a long pose, meaning the same pose, for weeks at a time, that's the best setup for you. And unfortunately, I have to drive over an hour each week now to do that, but you do what you gotta do. Oh, hey, Amber, thank you. Oh, yeah. Pastels help a lot with oil painting, definitely. Yeah, because you really feel out all of these planes. You mix on the paper. So you build every single color. You build every single color from scratch, basically, from this pure crayon, as some people would refer to it as. Build everything from it. Definitely helps with oil painting. Again, because you're going across the form, you're basically feeling out the major planes. So yeah, it helps a tremendous amount. And yeah, sometimes the pastel does get all over the place, especially if you're, covering as much as I am with this. But it's really not that bad. It's nothing to worry too much about. And I'm only using 5 colors to do all this. Okay, now let's go ahead and let's try a different route for this part of the background. Go with the yellow first. It's only a tiny part of the background here. Then we'll go with the black. So what we're aiming for is another brownish green. Of course, darker than the hair. Then we'll go in with the reddish brown. So I don't usually cover the background, but it was kind of a blessing in disguise that I broke my pastels. Because if you break them up into little pieces like this, all of a sudden it's easier to cover the masses. Like I said, a lot of my experience, all of it comes from working with oil paint and charcoal. So pastel is relatively new to me. I have, of course, used pastel in the past, but not to this extent. But I actually found out that that little broken piece is quite helpful because it blends things together. And of course, it's not something that I had planned out. I didn't plan to break these. It just fell. See, it can create kind of like a big wash, I guess. Hey, Joanne. Oh, thank you. Thank you. So as it turns out, if you break the pastel by accident, don't throw it away, because those little pieces are useful to cover big sections of the paper. And I'm going in with the background with this stream because I plan on spending a little bit longer with it than my usual live streams. And that's because the internet cut out on the first part. And, well, I want to do something more. than just the head and shoulders without a background. We even painted in the hat. But it does take a lot of these marks here blended in with the yellow. In the future, what I'll probably do is be a little less careful with my pastels. So if they break, then now I have something I can use them for. The background and stuff like that. Hey Danielle Vogler, it's not boxing just to hear opinion on something new has been mastered. Pastels. Didn't even try Rembrandt. Oils is best but expensive. Pastel I would consider it to be pretty cheap actually. I mean each of these is like $5, which is kind of expensive, but if you consider how much you get out of it, it's almost like a tube of paint. Like each stick is almost kind of like a tube of paint. Hey Joanne, I studied in Baltimore with an artist named Holden Hamilton when I was about like 17, 18, and then after that I studied in Philadelphia at a school called Studio Incombinati. And I stayed there for about a year. And then I went back to Baltimore and continued to study with Paulden. I also learned a lot from an artist named Karen Warshall in Baltimore. And I'm going to go to her studio tomorrow to paint from a live model. Right after this stream ends, I'm going to start that painting because I took pictures of it. So today's a long day for me. We're gonna do this stream for however long, and then I'm gonna start that painting. I'm gonna actually start it with acrylic, and then I'm gonna go into it with oil paint tomorrow. So yeah, after this I'm gonna paint even more, and then I gotta go to sleep. Then I gotta wake up early to go to Baltimore. But this is what I love to do. Hey Uncle Earl, yeah, it's been an hour. It's an hour 5 minutes after the stream just started. So normally I'd be taking a break right now, but I'm not going to take a break so soon because, you know, the stream just, you know, everything that happened. I'm trying to do as much as I can before I take a break. Give people a chance to find the stream again. So we're doing a lot with the background, but after we take a break and return, whenever we take a break, we will go back to the face. Make the face look more realistic. Joanne, how did your group go last night? And do I have any artists in my family? Well, yeah, I had artists in my family, but I didn't get to meet them. My grandpa from my mom's side was allegedly, because I say allegedly because I've never seen any of his work, but allegedly he was a portrait artist and a architect in Peru. My family is from Peru, but I know next to nothing about Peru except there's really good chicken. So I was born and raised in the U.S. Yeah, and my grandma from my dad's side. So my grandpa from my mom's side was an artist. My grandma from my dad's side was also an artist as well. But she worked with ceramics. She was a ceramics artist. Though she didn't do it professionally. She just had a lot of ceramics that she did. But not professionally. Not like making, paying the bills with it. Oh, and the group, it went really bad. Basically, I was told, and you were with me yesterday, that it was going to be a long pose. I show up there and I find out that they're going to be 1 minute, 5 minute, 10-minute poses. So basically, I planned my entire day around something that wasn't true. So that was no good. And but I won't say anything more about them or that place. I don't want to raise awareness for that school. So we just let it go. So again, any questions you have are much appreciated. I like to layer this red with the black. Now usually the description box has the name of the paint or the pastel, but because I had to restart my stream after what happened with the internet, I didn't really have time to type it. But these are Rembrandt pastels. Rembrandt brand pastels that we're using for this Rembrandt painting. Really appreciate all of you watching, keeping the stream alive. This is also a really good way to sharpen your pastels. Now, as I've learned, if you break your pastels into tiny pieces, or at least small pieces, it's actually easier to use the side of the pastel to mass in the shapes like this. It's actually easier to use the side of the pastel So my comment about Northern Virginia still remains true. There are no art groups here that have long poses like they do in Maryland. They do have classes though, but I'm not really trying to sign up for a class. I would like to just paint from life, work on a long pose with people. Something that's available in Maryland is not available in Northern Virginia. So if anyone is watching and is from Northern Virginia and would like to paint together, let me know. Harjot, I'm mainly talking to you. There's a chance you're probably here. So let me know what's up. Okay, so we've covered enough. We've been streaming for over an hour now. So we can now take a break. Anyone that may be new here, what I usually do is play a video of my Shiba Inu, who is a fantastic doggy, but also incredibly skilled at doing many different tricks. So you'll get to watch that video for a little bit. Those of you that have been here for a while already know. And hopefully you're not too tired of that video of Hugo yet. So we'll go ahead and play it. And I'm going to take a break and be back in just a little bit. Alrighty, hopefully you enjoyed that short little break. Now we will continue to work on the subtleties of the face. The schedule is a little, for this one video, the schedule is a little different because again we lost internet connection. To anyone that may not be aware why the video started the way it started today, it was because the first part we lost internet. Luckily I was able to connect the router, or restart the router, and the internet came back. So let's go ahead now and add more subtlety. These Rembrandt pastels are really, really nice to use to paint a Rembrandt. Just saying. So when things go wrong, we work extra hard to pursue our goals here. Meaning the internet cut off, and I took that as an opportunity to do even better with this painting. Initially I wasn't going to put the background, but we spent I don't know how long putting the background in last time. I mean before the break. So we're going plus ultra on this one. Hey Eileen, let's see, do you do your own framing and use spray fixative for pastels? No, I don't use a fixative for these pastels because I really haven't tried it yet. So I can sacrifice one of these paintings for you and try the pastel or try the fixative. But from my experience trying to spray fixative on drawings, it typically changes the value scheme a little bit. And don't even get me started on workable fixative. That just doesn't work very well with charcoal. I can't really say with pastel. What I would suggest with any dry media like this though is to frame it with a glass in the front. And yeah, I do my own framing, and not that I've framed anything in the past 2 years, but when I do frame stuff, basically what I do is try to find a discounted open frames typically from Michael's, and I just use that. Those ready open frames. The only time that I did go to a gallery, many years ago, my stepdad made a frame for me. All those years ago. So this kind of subtle layering is easier to do with the soft pastels. Yep, no problem, Eileen. Yeah, I would suggest to have just like a practice sketch or a painted sketch in pastel and try to spray to fix it. Make sure to shake the bottle first or shake the can so that you don't get any splotches and or whatever it's called, any little tiny spots of spray residue. And see, compare it to like what it looked like beforehand. But I haven't really done it with these pastels yet. Like I said, I'm really new to pastels. Hey, Daniel Vog, what do I have for Patreon members? The best one will have a chance for a career, if I understand. I'm from Serbia and think about it a lot. Maybe I don't understand. Oh, okay. So on my Patreon, I've been on. So let me preface this by saying I've been on Patreon for several years now. So I have accumulated a body of videos. I've accumulated many videos now, educational videos that range from beginner to advanced to expert level. And what I'm doing now is I'm using those videos, the footage from those videos, and I'm creating a semester style system where students will have those videos playing but edited. So I'm editing those videos. So basically, let me make it simple. I have a semester system where I guide students from very beginning level all the way up to advanced. Students that complete each project will be allowed to move up to the more difficult projects. So it is kind of like a pass-fail system. So if you pass one part of the course, you move to another one. Students that have completed a certain number of projects, I will deem to be apprentice. I call them apprentice. Currently I have one student that is actually really close to that. Once a student reaches apprentice, I will send them like a certificate, but don't confuse it with like a college degree. It's not a college degree. So it won't get you a job anywhere, but it's just something to keep, something that I'll send you. And students that I will deem apprentice, I will guide these students through and mentor them through their own studio works, their own studio paintings. I know it sounds like a lot, and it is a lot. And it's not for everyone. Not everybody, wants to put in that much time. But the good news is, it only costs you $10 a month as of right now. I haven't changed any prices. It does. I know it does sound like a lot. So basically, what it is you're guided from a very beginner level all the way up towards more advanced projects, and each project has a certain number of checkpoints. So what is a checkpoint? A checkpoint is simple. It's a reference picture. So say this Rembrandt, right? If you pause this video at like 45 minutes, that would be a checkpoint. So you would paint up until that point. And then I would deem if you're ready or not to move to the next stage of this painting. Hopefully that makes sense. So a checkpoint in my classes is simple. It's just It's basically just a screenshot, a progress image from a painting project. And you are to use that as a reference, basically catch up to that. And you submit that to me whenever you can. I do a virtual classroom each week. And that's where I give students advice. So, for example, what I look at for my virtual classroom currently in the stage that we're at is fundamentals. We're looking for linear specificity, clarity of shadows, and 3 values. So limited values. So those are the things currently that my students are, what I'm expecting from my students. Hey, Jeanette, I said just not to fix it. Keep it far back if you do. If you use Velour, don't use a fixative or you'll lose all your details. Yeah, typically I've been told to avoid fixative most of my career. So, especially retouch varnish, avoid that at all costs. That's mainly for oil painters, but still something to know. If you didn't know, now you know. Oh, right, keep it flat, that's what you wrote. Oh, yeah, definitely keep your surface flat. I forgot to mention that. Meaning put your paper all the way flat when you spray a fixative. And make sure that you're outside or somewhere where there's ventilation because it smells, it's a strong smell. I appreciate all of you that are here. Those of you that have left a like, thank you so much. Again, I apologize for the way the stream had to start due to the internet loss from before. But to make it up to you, I'm working extra hard with this painting. I mean, you won't even know it's pastel if I do my job correctly. And yes, of course, I do consider this my job. This is my career. And I do want to make more of these streams for you. Create an entire body of videos for you and a viewer experience unlike any other for you. But you also get to see the evolution of my techniques, my process. It's always evolving. And I am, like I said, I am teaching myself new materials currently, and I'm not going to spoil anything. Of course, some of my students know what I'm tinkering with, but there will be other materials introduced in the future. And this just goes to show you how amazing this paper is. Canson Metion. I don't know how to pronounce. I'm gonna look up how to pronounce it one of these days. Canson Pastel paper. This is the felt gray, but this surface has so much pastel on it already that it looks like a painting, like an oil painting. In particular, it even looks better than an oil painting. It doesn't have that annoying glare that we get with a lot of oil paintings. You know, I never would have thought in a million years, if you asked me when I was 17 if I was to do a Rembrandt like this in pastel, I would think you're losing it. But I was an ambitious kid, so maybe I would believe you. Oh, thanks, Giselle. Whichever material I work in looks like oil paint. Thank you. Well, hopefully I'm showing that whatever material that you use, the fundamentals are universal. Light and shadow, form, color relationships, these things are all universal. But of course some materials have innate advantages over others, intrinsic advantages. Like pastel has a huge advantage in terms of the blending of color like that. Whereas with oil paint, it would take me a while to kind of have to mix that on the palette. It's not so friendly to mix on the canvas, though you can, and I do that a lot. It's just not as simple as it is with these pastels. fancy words like talent, that someone has to be talented or incredibly gifted in order to be able to do things like this. I think really it just takes being in the right place at the right time, having the right teachers, and of course enjoying it. If you enjoy it, you're unstoppable. If you're in the right environment with the right teachers, you'll be unstoppable. Now we're really getting into the subtleties of the planes of the face. Everything's getting way more subtle. We're going to push what's possible with these pastels. Or at least help one of you fall asleep faster. But don't think of it as a bad thing if you use these videos as a sleeping aid. It's actually a compliment to me that my voice doesn't bother you. Alright, now everything I do is going to be a little more difficult. The difficulty level is a little more difficult now in this stage. So it's a good thing I used the black pastel to move all this stuff around in the background. So now it's soft, but still, not soft, it's sharp, but still soft enough to make a specific edge, specific mark. Just a tiny highlight. Almost nothing. But definitely we've gone a long way. We've gone a long way since the first pastel. We're pushing that kind of warm color on the forehead. So don't be alarmed. I will add the yellow ochre to it. I guess this is the part where obviously I don't talk as much. Really trying to concentrate on these values. It's hard for me to make this entertaining for you. But if you are still watching and paying attention at this point, or just simply enjoying the video, I really appreciate you. I myself really haven't figured out how to make this part of the video more entertaining. This is the stuff I usually would have edited out of a pre-recorded video. Hey Janet, you wrote pastel pencils help to get fine details. To some extent, yeah, I would assume so, but with this type of aesthetic, using, honestly, just using this kind of broken piece of pastel works almost just as fine, just as well. But yes, I would agree with you. Well, thanks, Hansel Dog. It's always been a challenge for me, because I know a lot of people get bored at this point. I mean, numbers don't lie. We've got way less people now, less than half. But of course, I won't edit anything. I can't edit it anyway. It's a live stream. I can't edit it. One of the reasons I started live streaming many years ago was because I didn't want to edit. Hey Janet, oh, I'm glad you like the light in the eyes. Yeah, Rembrandt's always been exceptional when it comes to eyes. I must say, I must admit, this is probably one of the most difficult pastels, if not the most difficult pastel I've ever done up until this point. There's so much intricacy involved in it. Oh, hey, I'm glad you like the sound of the pastels as I work quietly. I know I need to buy a microphone. My microphone broke. After so many years, the Blue Yetis do last a long time, but when they break, they break. So you're probably picking up my air conditioner. But perhaps I can, once I do buy a microphone, keep it closer to the paper. I know, as soon as you say that, the air conditioner goes on. But again, I emphasize, it's really important to do sketches. Now, this is a sketch that I did right before. Like, this is a 30-45 minute sketch or so I did right before doing this. And this is one that I did with the oil pastels. You see how I struggled with the light here and everything? But with the oil pastel, there's a lot of really cool texture that you can get. But once you get into the subtleties with oil pastels, they're very difficult. Yeah, and again, this is something that would have taken me several days to do in the past, but practice really does make a difference. A huge difference. Black and yellow. Carefully trying to create this edge. But I will say this is actually in many ways easier than oil paint. I hate to say that, but in many ways it is easier than oil paint. That's why I really like doing portraits in pastel, especially with these 5 pastels. So I know the stream has been going on pretty long, so well, if you consider the first part that got cut off by the internet. Definitely feel free to ask any questions. And please don't think that a question would be a distraction to me. It's come to my attention that some people think that questions are a distraction to me, but they're not. They're really not. And they help with the stream. So if you have some question in mind that you really want to ask, but you're not asking because you don't want to interrupt me, you're not going to interrupt me. And pastel's even nicer to travel with than oil paint. It's really easy to travel with it. Kind of like I'd imagine watercolor is easier to travel with too. Probably why so many people use it for landscapes. Hey Hansel Dog, no, I don't have many people asking for pet portraits. I mean, I have currently only 2 that are asking for pet portraits. Just my friends from the Billiard Academy. Usually people just ask. They sound like they're interested in something, and then they just forget about it. Typically. And I'm not gonna nag them either and say, "You want your pet portrait? Get your pet portrait." No one has asked. But it is a common one, though, for most people. Especially as we near the holidays. Everyone is gonna ask for a pet portrait. Maybe not from me, but in general, that tends to be the time. I'm assuming someone's asked you for a pet portrait, Hansel Dog? Yeah, it's kind of funny. The most successful portrait commissions I've ever had in terms of people not complaining have been pet portraits. Every time I do a human portrait commission, every time I've done one, I've had the clients complain. Every time. Just like Rembrandt, I'm sure he dealt with that too. Oh, you were just curious? Yeah, I've had more trouble with human portrait commissions. Everybody wants to look younger, or their hairline, they want it to be a little bit fuller. But with pet portraits, seems to be much more forgiving from the clients. It's a good business to have, though. Yeah, his hair can look different in the photo. It all depends on the lighting. I mean, like your monitor. But yeah, we can add some warmer colors to the hair. So we'll do that, and then we'll take another break. Then we will return and finish this. Really appreciate all of you that have been here the whole time, including the first part, where I lost the internet connection. So yeah, let's do that. And again, this says a lot for this paper. I'm putting this paper through a lot. Canson Metiance pastel paper. Finally, the air conditioner cuts off right when I'm going to take a break. Yeah, I think, you know what, we might actually almost be there with this. I did say I would take a break and then return, because I usually do take 2 breaks before finishing a painting, but it's gone pretty far. I guess it makes sense. We already started at 4. It's 7:30 now. Yeah, we're almost there. Not really much left. Yeah, I'll skip the last break and we'll work for like another, I don't know, 5 minutes or so, but I think this is mostly done. The damage was already done, having to restart the stream. So yeah, we'll add a few more planes to the forehead, and I think we'll call it. So I guess this will be the point where I'll ask, is there any last minute questions? Again, apologize for losing the connection. Internet connection loss for the first part of the stream. But remember, the schedule is Wednesday oil painting, Thursday acrylic, Friday pastel. And thank you, Hansel Dog, for joining. Really, thank you, all of you, for staying here despite having to wait for me to reconnect the internet. I was so glad that I was able to get the router to work. See what I said? What did I say? The thing broke. Oh my goodness. This has been an interesting stream, but yeah, the white is falling apart now. In my defense, I think it was already broken. Well, thank you, Janet. I'm glad you enjoyed. Really happy to have you here. It was a challenge here. Challenge due to the internet. But we made it work. We were resilient. We learned how to restart the router. And we made it back. But yeah, by far the most complicated, the most challenging pastel that I've done to this point. It'll be interesting to compare this one to the oil painting that I did of it many years ago. I did the same exact study in oil paint. Well, thanks, May. Thank you. Thank you. The paper held together pretty well, everyone. Really good paper. And that's important for pastels. The paper is really, really important. And the question I tend to get, when do I know if a painting is complete or not? It's just kind of a gut feeling. Like you just kind of know. So I'm almost there, and I think maybe just this one dark is bothering me. Even though I see it on the painting, I'll edit it. You just kind of know. It's like it's a gut feeling. When you make that last mark. And I think that was the one. I think so. I think that was the one. So what I'll do is sign it. Probably over here. Or actually, I'll sign it up here. I think it might make more sense. And lately I've been just signing with a 24 for the year. I know it doesn't show up, but I don't want the signature to be the main thing here. Alright, so that is about it. This one was quite challenging. Not just because of the internet issues, but the painting itself presented a lot of difficulties in terms of covering the background, the planes of the face, the edge quality around each of the shapes was quite difficult. So Jada, Thursdays will remain 4. I think you said that earlier time was easier for you, but things did not work out well with that painting group. So I found out that they actually weren't long poses; they were short poses. So I will be doing 4:00 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time for each of the streams. So once again, everyone, the streams are Wednesday oil painting, Thursday acrylic, Friday pastel, all of which will be 4:00 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. I wish you the very best, and I'll see you next week.